Okay. Yes. We'll start the chapter 9, embedded firmware design and development. I hope you have heard the two words, software and the hardware. This firmware is a new one. Okay. So for the introductory part, let me tell you, software means pure program. Hardware means it's a tangible which you can users can touch and feel. Always software executes on a hardware. Now, since the software is intangible, that means we cannot touch, and hardware is what we can touch. There should be these two are totally opposite to each other. Okay, so there should be something who know both hardware as well as software. So that something is called as firmware. Okay, very simple. One more example I would like to give you so that we can analyze what we mean by the firmware. Okay, see now, let's assume the cricket in the game of cricket, the bowler will is about to bowl and batsman is holding the bat to hit the ball. Okay, so now once the ball comes closer to the batsman, he will lift the bat and hit it to the ball. So who is telling the batsman hands how much force to hit, whether to not to hit, okay, etc. These all decisions done by his brain. Okay, so looking into the situation, he will decide hitting or leaving the ball, etc. Okay, his decision is taken by his own firmware. What we say as a viewer of a cricket, he would have hit the ball easily, or instead of hitting the left side, go for right side, like that we will comment as an outside person. But really speaking, whoever is that facing that situation, they will take the decision based upon that their practice or by the smartness. So the thing which makes decision in a person is called the brain. Same way in embedded system, who is taking a decision is called as firmware. I hope you understood now. Firmware here, firmware will make a sensor to collect the data, actuator to work according to that data. Okay, I hope you are getting now. So meaning of firmware is it is added intelligence or something, how to respond to the situation, how to observe the situation, and how to respond the situation. This is done by firmware. Now we are discussing in this chapter how we can attach, how we can add smartness to our embedded system. So for this, what we can compare is, see this old mobile, okay, so and today's mobile, which we call it as a smartphone. Okay, so what is the difference between old mobile and smartphones? Old mobile purposes are less and there was no concept of internet. But nowadays in the smartphone, there is nothing called without internet. Okay, so internet, why I am taking the point internet only is because internet is a thing which works based upon the time. If we try to set our mobile handset date and time to some older, so network provider will tell system date and time is not correct. And also we, if we try to set it for future like a 2022, then also will not get a internet. Internet we will get only when the system time is to up to the correct mark. In that way, so that is what the added smartness. So here we can say firmware means it's a brain of the embedded system. It will decides all the activities taking place in the embedded system, along with making software familiar with the hardware and making hardware familiar with the software, both the cases. Okay, so now the batsman will decide whether to hit the ball harder, left side, right side, straight, okay, straight direction, or to leave the ball based upon his brain decision. In the same way, this firmware will also do the decisions in the embedded system. As I mentioned, since it's a very important part, it is only responsible for controlling all the activities taking place in the embedded system, and also it try to take a decision based upon the peripherals. Now the question, what do you mean by peripherals? Is it is the connected things for the main processor. See, in our mobile we have main processor like Qualcomm, Snapdragon, etc. What are the peripherals for it? Touch screen is a peripheral, internet port is a peripheral, because through these peripherals we will give a data, we will only collect the data as a user. Okay, so meaning of this point number one is all the activities taking place in that embedded system are controlled by the firmware, because it's the main. Okay, and also whenever we are designing, so we should be very thorough with the firmware, what firmware should do, how firmware should act in different situations. Okay, so now we can simple one more question is, can we call this one, the can we have a component without, can we attach some component without the knowledge of firmware to any embedded system? Not at all possible. See how I could explain is, is it possible to connect some land phone to our mobile device through wire or wireless? That is not possible, because our embedded system firmware will not detect it. Okay, so can we connect some of the laptop to our this one mobile? Yes, it is possible. Suddenly, what happens? The laptop become master and mobile become a slave. But we can connect. That means what? Our embedded system can understand all the components, whatever we will connect with that system. Okay, through which what we can connect through interfacing devices like USB cable or Bluetooth or a Wi-Fi or some other mode of connection, we can connect the two embedded system or one embedded system with another system. Okay. So next, what we can do with the help of firmware? The firmware will converts our requirement into one program. Say for example, you are a software engineer. Okay. So we all going to be a software engineer. So what happens after the graduation? Just think as you are a soft, I mean you are going to develop on software. So what you will do, you will go to shop and you will expect, so I am a software engineer, what I can do it for your shop. Okay, he will tell some automatic biometric, at time employees will come, employees will go out, how much work they will do, all this should be monitored. So that is what your requirements. Okay, now as a programmer you will come and you will develop it, you will bring up a device such that which will do all these observations. That is called as one of the model, either program model or a hardware model or one product which has converted his requirement into the service or a product. I hope you can understand now. Okay, for this we are using many of a different notations, UML, unified modeling language. Okay, I think you are going to study in either software engineering or in some of the higher subjects. Okay, so through this, these are the diagrams in which we will understand or we will represent the requirements and how the product will be developed. Hope you understood the importance of firmware now. Let's go for what are the two methods we define whenever we are developing a firmware. How to develop intelligence which I can include in my embedded system and make embedded system very convenient to use. I hope you understood. Okay, see, for man, how he will get the intelligence? By experience, by reading, by observation, by practicing, etc. But how about a component? Okay, so if I come bring a computer to my home, new computer, without installing anything, and if I start using, it will not understand on its own unless like human. Okay, see what is the concept is, there will be a kid of 5 years. Okay, by the time he turns into 10, he will be grasping many of the things like words speaking in a mother tongue, then helping in one of small works. Okay, enjoying, laughing, etc. It will learn. How it learned is because by its environment, but computer cannot understand by its own. But nowadays we have some exception like artificial intelligence, but computer or any embedded system is not, it won't learn on its own. We have to tell how to respond in different situation. That response is developed through program. That response is developed through program. Say you will go to ATM. Okay, you will put a, we will put a card, insert a card. So what computer should answer whenever a user insert a card? Should it tell him directly to take a cash and go out? No, there is some procedure. So computer should tell, okay, once he inserted a card, computer should tell enter the password. If he enter the password, you should not accept anything whatever he enter. So computer should also ask verify if it is correct or not correct. If it is not correct, give him a warning or a error. If it is correct, then allow him for the further steps. Like that, computer should have minimum knowledge. That knowledge how to develop. That is what a point we are. So the smartness of a program or embedded system is developed through two approaches. One is a conventional approach and another one is an embedded OS approach. So conventional approach, as a word indicates, it is very traditional method in which same program executed hundreds of a time. Same program executed hundreds of a time. Whereas in embedded OS, the task is not executed hundreds of times. Instead, it is controlled by special set of a program or a bunch of a programs called as operating system. Okay, called as operating system. So let's start how we can develop intelligence part of an embedded system through super loop model. What is its procedure, advantages, disadvantages, and some of the characteristics. Okay, first thing, where we should apply this super loop model is if we are developing non-time oriented systems. I hope you can see now one example. Nowadays, many of the kids are using some song playing toys. Okay, if he presses a button, song will come. Okay, so again, it will sing the same song for about 3 times, 4 times. After that, some amount of time, it will it will be turned off. But ultimately, it is playing same song some of the times. So uh, why like that? It is not like our mobile system, because it is not a time critical. Whenever presses power supply occur, circuit close case will happen. It will simply play the music which is already stored. Okay, so it is a conventional procedure. Conventional means one after another execution or same program execution hundreds of times. That's what one of the mode. It is not a wrong, but it is applicable where it is non-time dependent, like kids toys. Okay, so as I mentioned, there might be multiple songs, but one song is played 10 times. If he presses another button, another song will come. If he presses fourth button, fourth song will come. If you have seen some kids, they pretend like they are using their own mobile. Okay, they will open the mobile, they will press some button. If they press first button, some song will play. Okay, unless he releases, it will be keep on playing. So suddenly the kid will change to fifth button pressing. Okay, again one more song will come. Like that, each task, whichever the signal user has given, that is executed in different approaches. Sometimes what happens, they program like this. Once you press, 3 times listening. Okay, again second button press, 3 times listening. Whenever first button is pressed and before completion of a 3 second, if some second button or some other buttons are pressed, earlier song is deleted, new song will start playing. So it is not a time dependent. Okay, so in this way, the one of the approaches, it is very traditional and less cost. You can see now, okay, how it works. First, all the hardware parameters we have to define. What do you mean by hardware parameters? What is there in that hardware which has a kid's mobile phone? Okay, so there will be one speaker, battery, then buttons. That's it. Okay, they will give a button. The kids will press up that button, and corresponding song will be played. And that song will not be full. It is just 1 or 2 lines. The same 2 lines of a song will be played repeatedly. So that hardware is how it works. See, if he presses now, the kid presses now, after 5 seconds it may start a play. Sometimes immediately it will start a play. Okay, most of the time it will play immediately. So as our circuit efficiency reduces, there may be some delay occurs, automatic delay. Okay, something will happen. Okay, right. So now using super loop model, same program or a same part of a program executed multiple times, unless we will stop or some other button will come, some other button is pressed. Okay, start the first task, execute it. Start the second task, execute it. Start the third task, execute. Like that, go on up to nth task. Start like that, go on up to nth task. Execute all nth task and finishes. Okay. So as I told, finish last task also and go back to the first task and continue the same procedure. I hope we have all seen in many of the times printing statements in our C program using a for loop or while loop, do while loop, etc. We use this method. Even the same method we will use whenever we are developing intelligence of an embedded system. Okay, now see, this is what another some idea. There will be a program configurations, initializations. What do you mean by configuration? Hardware configuration. I hope you will get more knowledge about this in our lab part B programs. Initializations, some variables will be initialized. Okay, so like int I equal to 0, j equal to 25, etc. Okay, so for infinite time, keep on doing all the tasks and finish the task. Since it is a infinite, go again for from 1 to n, again 1 to n, again 1 to n, unless he releases the power button, that kid. So like that, it will continuously executes. See, this is an infinite loop work. So what is the only way to come out? Only way to come out is either we have to press a hardware reset. Okay, either we have to press a hardware reset or we have to there should be some interrupt. See, first button is played, song, I mean it is continuously pressed by a student, kid. So the song is playing, suddenly he will remove the battery, so definitely it will stop. Or suddenly he presses a second button, then also it stops. If he don't do removal of a battery and not presses any other key, the same first song will be played for some amount of a time. Okay, so that is called as infinite execution. That is called as super loop approach or super loop model. Okay, so now it here such a approach doesn't need any operating system, because fixed number of works, fixed amount of time, it will execute and finishes. There is no monitor required. Okay, because it is not at all time oriented. Since it is not time oriented, no need of scheduling at what time which song should play, which song should not play, nothing. So if some button is pressed, corresponding activity is done. It's a simple and straightforward approach. Okay, so any failure in the part, what we have to do is we have to replace complete system. That's a disadvantage. Okay, or compromise with the present situation. Say for example, 5 buttons are there, 5 songs are there. So what kid has done is continuously he played one button, because of a hardware fault, that button is not working. So only option is what? Either you replace the button so that system will work, or compromise with the only 4 remaining options. Okay, most of the time we will compromise with the remaining options rather than repairing, because the costs are less. So instead of repairing, we have to go with the present condition. Okay, generally these are made up of COTS, COTS, commercial off the shelf, use as it is. If some problem occurs, either you stop using or you dispose. Like that you can work. Okay. So next, there is no need of timeness. Okay, there is nothing called time oriented parameters. So we can execute any instruction at any time. Condition corresponding button is pressed. Okay, and here priorities are already fixed. Okay, if first button is pressed, non-pressed button have less priority than pressed button. That's a fact. Which song is played is which button is pressed. the remaining songs will not be played. Okay, so that is what priorities are fixed. And these are low cost embedded products. I hope you understood now. This is, if you remember kids toys, that is the concept of super loop approach. Now comes the tough one, embedded operating system based design. This is example for mobile. I mean, mobile is example for this. Okay. Why we should not go with the traditional method? Why we should go with the OS method? Simple way. Why the mobile technology has changed from button handset to today's smartphone is because today's smartphone can do millions of different works which were unable to execute on old mobile. Okay, because of that, the smartness is added in the name of operating system, that we call it as iOS or Android. Okay, so nowadays Android can do plenty of works. I hope you can easily see something like this. We can prepare some notes in my mobile. Okay, in our mobile, we can prepare. We can take a photo, send it to some of my friend, nature photo, friends photo, etc. We can download a song from the internet. We can prepare some notes and share it to my friend. So these all things, what these possible nowadays because of OS. Okay, and that too smart OS. What do you mean by smart OS? Okay, even old mobile also had OS, Symbian OS, but that was not real time oriented. Now Android, iOS, everything is time based approach. That's why they are very popular, because they are reducing lot of human efforts. See, now how to justify this point is, see, earlier days we used to wear a wrist watches. We used to keep a alarm next to our bed. Okay, we used to keep letters in our home to write and send it to our relative or friends. Now so many things are removed. See, alarm we want, we will set in the mobile only, and so by that time it will show, it will make a sound, we will wake up. So wall clock, again it is available in our mobile. Wrist watches are available. Okay, digital camera are replaced, we can take it in our mobile. Okay, and we no need to send letters, or no need to go to the internet center to check our result. All these things we can do in our home only. I mean, that too with our mobile device. So that's what idea. Mobile device is popular because of its embedded OS. Okay, not only embedded, not only mobile. Most of the embedded systems nowadays will come with their inbuilt OS. See, what is the general name we call is smartness. Even geysers, water heater geysers are coming with the inbuilt OS. So how much to heat up, how much to cool the water. So everything is monitored through program. That is what is called as smartness. Okay. So first thing, it is not a super loop approach. It's a conventional, it's a new method called OS based approach. Okay. So here we need driver software. I don't think many of you might have heard about this driver software, because how nowadays Windows 7, Windows 10 onwards OS, if you have installed, you don't have practice of installing a device driver. But what happens if you go with Windows XP and all, OS is separate, audio driver is separate. So after installing a fresh copy of operating system, we need to install audio drivers. So then only we can listen music from our system. Otherwise, it was not possible, old days. But now OS already have their device drivers, and also most of the components they are converted into USB mode. So otherwise, what happens if you remember? Some 10 years back, if I buy a mobile, they used to give small CD along with the mobile. So that CD we have to install in our computer, then only computer can detect our mobile. Otherwise, computer was unable to detect. But nowadays, since USB mode of data transfer is there, no need to install. But still, if you connect this one mouse, you can see something like device is detected. Okay, automatically drivers is also installed, right? So that's what a one point of present embedded OS. So these are time dependent. This is very, very important. So if you go to ATM, and after inserting a card, can we wait, or can machine wait for 1 hour, 2 hours? No, it will give in a fraction of a second. And it is asking now, enter a password. So I will not give password for 2 minutes. So suddenly what happens, within a 2 minute, it will give a message that user has not given a password. So please cancel, the transaction is cancelled, take your card back. Like that it will give, because it is a time oriented. Also, if successful transition takes place in the database, there will be one row at this exact amount of a time. This amount, this person, means this account number, has withdrawn this much amount, that we call it as a UTR number, right? So that is a unique transaction number. So that will be unique. So that is also stored based upon the real-time response. Okay, there will be real-time kernel. So what do you mean by kernel? Who converts, who establishes a communication between user and a OS or hardware. Okay, so this is also real time. So because of this is a real time, we can perform multitasking, scheduling of different tasks and different threads that we can. Okay, it's a flexible. So why it is flexible? It in our mobile, if I am listening a music, if I get a call, will mobile say that he is listening a music, so don't call? It's not like that. So based upon the priority, the song playing is less priority and call is a more priority. What it will do? It will stop playing a music. It will give hardware for the call. So it is called as flexible scheduling based upon priority. What are the examples we have? Okay, I think you can easily add here Android. Okay, if I add here Android and iOS, these all can be replaced. These all are the given in textbook. Okay, so now what are the features you have studied about embedded OS? Now how to develop embedded OS? So which language I should use? I can use any of the language like a C, C++, Java, which are high level language, or I can use the languages which we call it as assembly level languages. So this portion you have already studied. Just now it is time to relate what we have learned and what is a concept. Now comes, we have studied C and C++. Okay, so what are the features about C and C++? They are high level language, user friendly language. The user can develop a program. There will be syntax. If the person or the programmer remember syntax, so he can do the programming easily. So these all are the parameters we have learned about C or C++. Now comes assembly level language. So if it's assembly level language, we generally write with ALL. So where you have learned is in your part A lab program, all the 8 programs plus module 2, sorry, module 2, uh, all the programs you learned are ALL, assembly level language. If I show you one example, I hope you can easily understand this. Have you heard some instruction, at least similar, if not exact, at least similar? See this, move R0, 2020, some symbol hash is there. So that means 2020 value is copied onto R0, or 2020 value moved onto R0 register. So what all the things we will come to know, this we call it as single instruction. This we call it as single instruction, in which there will be some value, there will be some registers, and there will be some name of the work what to be done. If I say, instead of move, if I say add, what we should assume, present value are not added with the 2020 and new value will be stored in R0. So if I do this with a multiply, like that I hope we can give plenty of examples. So present value of R0 multiply with the 2020 and result is generated, again back stored into the R0, like that also. Okay, different language, different features are there. So here is one example. If it is the same in our ARM language, again it will be R multiply R0, R1, R2, like that. So where two numbers are taken, multiplied and stored in the third number, like that. Syntax may change. Okay, so now coming back to this assembly level language, why we should study assembly level language is, the assembly level language is the best language to develop embedded firmware. This one. What do you mean by firmware? Smartness to the embedded system. That smartness development is done better in assembly level language. Why? Because this is neither a high level language nor the machine level language. So what you know about high level language and machine level language? That means HLL and machine level language. So what do you mean by HLL? These are English statements. These are English statements, user friendly. Okay. Whereas machine level language means it is made up of zeros and ones only. And these are hardware friendly. So now, can I use all? If I write a program in HLN, it is difficult for processor to understand. Okay, if I try to write a program in terms of machine level language, it is difficult for me only because it has only zeros and ones. So something now between this high level language and machine level language is assembly level language, which has okay, few restricted English words, restricted English. Why I'm taking English is it's a general language which we are using in all the programming languages. Okay, restricted languages with restricted pattern or a syntax. So we cannot write whatever we wanted to. Execution. So there should be some compromise from our side also. So that will give the smartness to the embedded system. So as I told, machine level language always represents a binary, and high level language is good for user. But there should be something intermediate who is good for hardware level as well as machine. User level as well as machine. So that is called as assembly level language. So assembly level language consists of mnemonics. What do you mean by mnemonic? It's a short form of the instruction code. It's a short form of the instruction code. Even if you call multiplication, it is called as MUL. For addition, ADD. We call it as instruction. Okay. So they have mnemonics. There will be, it is a good interface between processor, who is a hardware, programmer, who is a user, a best interface between user and a system. And one more thing, these are processor dependent. If I write one instruction in ARM, that is not suitable in 8086. Means both they will have different architecture. Unique. As okay, that's the next one. One processor, whatever we have wrote, will not work with the others. So if I write a program for ARM 7, that I cannot execute on 8086. Okay, so there will be first opcode, then operands. What do you mean by opcode? Mnemonic. See, first opcode, that's the name of operation, then values or operands. Okay, now this opcode will tell what to do. I hope you know that. Now, what is the work we are doing here? Multiplication. So if I write here ADD, addition. If I write here SUB, subtraction. So this opcode portion will tell us what is the work to be done. Okay. So and also what are the some restrictions? We cannot write multiple instructions in same one line. We have to separate them one instruction per line. Okay, so it is consisting of some instructions we should not use directly, like without a comparison we cannot use a branch. I hope you remember, without comparison we cannot use a branch. Okay, without a start we cannot use a end. I hope like that. Some instructions are dependent. Okay, so one more simple way is, without opening a flower bracket we cannot type closing flower bracket first. That's what one similarity. So coming for the next, what are the fields? If you take one line of a embedded programming instruction, there will be opcode, registers, values. So registers and values are called as operands. This is called as opcode. Okay, there is a new word called label. So I hope you remember this line. If I type here like this, loop one, and here is what okay, move R0, comma R1. See this loop means it's a starting of some section of a program. I hope you know in our branch instruction, I have used the keywords forward, backward. Even in many of our lab program, we have used C value, D value. Then we have used loop 1, loop 2, loop 3, loop not, like that. So these are used as label. So why it is called as a label? It indicates which part of the program should execute. Okay. So based upon some condition, it will go to loop 1, or some other condition, it will go to loop 2, like that. I hope you remember. So those are called as labels. Okay. So the label will tell us some intermediate point from which part the program lines or a set of instructions should execute again and again, or discontinuous execution, that should be decided by the label. Okay. So here, where we will write these programs we save with the name of .asm. I hope you know these all the points. Okay. We will save this with the asm extension. These are called as source files. These are called as source files. What is a development we are environment we are using in our lab is Keel. It's a name of a software. That full form is integrated development environment. Integrated development environment. So for your OOC, I think you are using Eclipse. For the microcontroller lab, you are using Keel software. So that is called IDE. Okay. So our main program is divided into sub programs. Okay. And we are going to use. Okay. Right. I hope if I show you one conceptual diagram which you have not yet done, or you might have done, these all the activity will take place. Okay. So you will type one program. You will type one program. Okay. You will do the errors correction, errors checking, like GCC1.c. You might have did in your C programming, or here in our Keel software, we used to do 3 buttons, no, compile for, and we'll check it for 0 errors and 0 warnings. Then translate button. So those are the words where we will check. Sorry, those are the steps where we will check for errors. Okay. So once I type a button and save, once I click on that debug, I will get an object file creation. I will get object file creation. Okay. Even in our C programs also gcc one dot c and dot slash a dot out. So those will create one object file. So in our lab program, we have not used any of the header file, but in our C program, you have used standard input output header file, or conio.h, etc. You might have used. Okay. So those header files are copied here. So we have not executed two programs at a time, So you can draw only one. See, .asm file, .asm file. We have compiled it. Object is created. If we are using a header file, library file, that is also referred, and header file and object file both are linked, and absolute object file is created. Finally, that will create a hex file. How to create a hex file, you are going to study in part B lab program from this week onwards. Okay, that in that time you will understand more. As of now, you remember only the steps. Okay, so even though how the hex file is created in your C programming also, you might be knowing. You have typed to the program, you have checked the errors. After checking error, you will type dot slash a dot out. No, that command itself will tell us. It will do all the steps, accessing a library files, loading and linking the header file with our program, and preparation of the absolute object files. Okay, so this is what up to today's discussion. Less than a minute is remaining. Please give your attendance. Okay, see this flow diagram you are going to do in your lab part B. So that once you execute one or two programs of a part B, so you will understand easily how you are going through this diagram. Okay, fine. Right.